Now, look, giving people space isn't just about giving people like physical space, right? But also during conversations, during text, in every aspect of life. Space isn't just a peripheral a proximity space, but also in time. And also that means when you're talking to them, give them space to talk. Let them be the most interesting person in the world in your presence at least. Remember, why? Because the whole point of all of this is to always try to give people the impression that they are interested. If you guys don't understand this, it's really important for self-esteem for people to feel like that the person who's listening to them values what they have to say. You have to give it. Once you do that, which is important, well, they'll feel the need to give back to you and they'll validate you because you're validating them. Now, some people are a little harder to give that than others, right? And that's why you take a precautionary step and you give people more space than necessary after the meetup. But even when you talk to people, always give them more space to talk. Take a little bit, like when they're done talking, pause a little bit more before you respond. Maybe they have something else to say, right? Always say less than necessary simply because it prevents you from making mistakes. The biggest mistakes in social interactions usually happen because people talk too much. Like in the mafia, I watch a lot of mafia movies, and usually the one of the reasons why people die and get killed is because they talk too much. They may say a wrong joke at the wrong place at the wrong time. They might talk to the cops. It doesn't matter. The point is, a lot of their deaths come because of their mouths, people, not because of the actions, which is pretty insane, right? So that's one thing, right? Makes them. But another thing is that by you giving people space, it makes them want you more. For example, when you go to restaurants, a good restaurant will always give you small portions. I'm sorry, that's just how it works. Usually, the best restaurants give you give you small portions. The worst restaurants give you the largest portions. Like, and it's there's also a psychological effect that I notice that when I go to Italian restaurants, the ones that give me the big portions, I always leave more unsatisfied. But whenever they give me small portions, there's something about small portions that just feels right. And that's because it just feels more elegant, it feels higher value, and you actually enjoy the food more. And that's the same thing with yourself. Give people small portions of yourself at first. Don't give people too much portion. Don't let them get full with you. Don't let people get too full with your charm. Give them small portions of your presence and let that build up over time. Insecurity will always make people want to be around them all the time. And you might suffocate them. It's like the smell of weed. You want to be able to smell weed. But if you smoke weed every day, you might smoke and not be able to tell that there's weed in the air. But when you don't smoke often, you don't get desensitized to the smell of weed. So every time you smell it, it's going to be a strong hit. So it's the same thing with people. Don't let them make people know that you're there. And the way you let people know that you're there, and the way that you increase the power of your presence is through absence. It's through giving people the space that they need. And it's almost like it's funny how usually the artists that we when we love people the most and when we talk about people the most is when they're not there. We talked about Michael Jackson the most when he died, right? We talk about more about the people who are not here more than the people who are there. That's what gossip is, right? Absence, space always makes the brain gravitate towards it. It's a void, a mystery that people love thinking about. So that's one thing. It makes them want you more. And above all, it shows their willingness to fill in the gaps. If somebody really likes you as a person and they appreciate you, when by you being around them and validating them, by listening and letting them talk more than you talk. And mind you, when you let people talk more than you, they end up liking you more than you like them. It's just like it's one of those weird tricks of human nature. By you then putting a ball in their corporate, because again, this is why I'm telling you to when you're around them, make them know that hey, I like you as a person. You got to do that. You can't show that you don't like them. You can't be super cold in person because then this won't work. You have to give off a warm, friendly vibe, and the way you develop that is by developing a meditation practice. People, I mean, I hate to bring that up again. A meditation practice will give you an aura of friendliness, warmth that gravitates people to you. Plain and simple. So right after that, it also then when people know that you like them back, when you like them in real life and you're away, they're gonna try to give back to you. Like I said, validation and self-esteem. And so that means they're just gonna want to be around you. They're gonna chase you. They're gonna say, hey, you want to hang out? Hey, it was great meeting you, blah, 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 blah. And so then you reciprocate their initiation with your initiation next, right? And then all you guys are doing is matching each other's energy. You're just matching each other's energy. If they're pulling away, you pull away, right? If they're showing interest, you show interest. But always remember, in the beginning of any relationship, always give them more space. That's just how that works, right? Don't chase them too much. Don't see them too often at first. Let that build up over the months, over the weeks and months. Because when you spend too much time with someone in the beginning, you might end up falling in love with the wrong person. You don't want that. You don't want to fall in love with the wrong person. So in order to keep your emotional independence from the person, to not get too emotionally invested in somebody who's not investing back, that's why you want to see them initially, not that much, once a week at first, and then you build up over the weeks. Maybe the next week, maybe in the next 2 weeks, you see them 2 times a week, and then you build it up. And also because you want to give them that space. Remember the crystallization process. You want to give them more moments of like random pop-ups where you pop up in their mind, and you're like, oh wow, why am I thinking of them, right? And when they realize that you're coming up in your mind a lot of the times people just come to the conclusion that they actually like you or love you. And sometimes they end up falling in love with you. And if they're a friend, they might say, okay, I really like this friend of mine. I want to get to know them more, right? And this is something that I didn't do when I was younger. When I was younger, I would pursue too much. I would chase too much. And unfortunately, it made a lot of my relationships really difficult.